Hi all, today we can learn about the rock cycle. Rock cycle means it's the process by which one kind of rocks changes into other kind, mainly due to the physical process such as cooling, weathering and erosion, compaction and cementation, high heat and pressure, and melting. Mainly these changes are undergone on three main kinds of rocks such as igneous, metamorphic and sedimentary rock. This is a diagrammatic representation of the rock cycle, where the first process is the magma, which is the molten material found in the mantle of the earth, where it solidifies to form an igneous rock, and where these igneous rocks undergo a high weathering and erosion, it forms into sediment. These sediments are deposited and buried, and this slowly undergo compaction and cementation to form a sedimentary rock, where these sedimentary rocks are buried in the deep ground underground, where it undergoes high heat and pressure, which is the process is known as metamorphism, slowly forms to the metamorphic rock, where these metamorphic rock again undergoes high pressure and heat. It slowly melts to form magma. This again in forms to the solidifies to form igneous, and the cycle continues. From this, where this igneous rock now, this, if it undergoes high heat and pressure, uh, uh, the process known as metamorphism, it can also change to this metamorphic rock. Again, these metamorphic rocks under uplifted to the above ground due to the weathering or erosion, and this slowly weather and eroded to form small sediments, and these sediment deposited and compact cementation occurs, slowly forms a sedimentary rock. Or these igneous undergoes high heat, it slowly melts and it again form back to the magma. So this is a cyclic process where this uh, and a continuous process. The first, we can check about how this rock cycle and the process of it. First, the rock cycle begins as a molten rock, which is a magma. When it is below the ground, it is known as magma. When it is above the ground, it is known as lava. It is mainly due to the eruption of volcano. And this magma or lava, whatever it is, solidifies out, cools down, and it became hardens, it forms igneous. This process is known as cooling or solidification or crystallization, that is based on the characteristic of the igneous rock. And next, these igneous rocks undergo weathering and erosion, which breaks the original rock into smaller fragments. If it is settled down or moved away by the help of uh, uh, other process or other materials known as river, wind, glacier, because these are very fine particles, so it can move easily. If the wind blows, these fine particles will move with the wind. Uh, if the water came, or if it is near the river, this water can carry these fine samples, so it is carried away or eroded, and these carried particles are deposited somewhere else. Eh? And these are deposited somewhere else, it's slowly buried and hardened over there, that is known as compaction and cementation. Uh, and this is slowly forms to the, it takes a lot of years, and slowly forms to the sedimentary rock, and this process is known as lithification. Next, these sedimentary rocks are buried deep down due to the deposition or accumulation of other materials over the top of this rock. Then this is exposed to high heat and pressure. Over a time, it slowly changes its structure to the structure due to the process of metamorphism, and it occurs the new rock, metamorphic rock. Eventually, these metamorphic rock undergo high heat, and they slowly melt to the form magma, where the cyclic process is again restarted, because again this magma solidifies to form igneous rock. Then this undergo weathering and erosion, it forms sedimentary rock. Then it undergoes melting, it forms metamorphic rock. Again this metamorphic undergo high heat and pressure, it slowly melts to form the magma. Next, we can learn about the three types of rock. First one is the igneous rock. It is formed by the hot magma solidifies and is rapidly cooled. Some examples of igneous rocks are granite, obsidian, pumice, etc. Next is sedimentary rock. It are formed by the decomposition and sedimentation, which is being mixed together and compressed, and it is extended for a long time. And Some examples of sedimentary rocks are limestone and sandstone. Sometimes we can find fossils on these sedimentary rock because these are formed by a long process and mainly occur due to the sedimentation and cementation. When the cementation occurs, it can imprint the plant fossils or animal fossils in the trap in this cementation process. Again, the sediments deposited over the top of these fossils, it's slowly buried. After long years, these fossils are imprinted on a rock also. Next, a metamorphic rock. It is a combination of rock types because it is compressed together by high pressure and high heat. Because high pressure from the both sides of ground underground and high heat from below the ground. So this is compressed together by high pressure and heat, and they are usually hard and they had a grainy texture. Some examples of metamorphic rock are slate, schist, and gneiss. Next, we can undergo some changes or the main 5 steps of rock cycle. First one is weathering and erosion, where these 3 rocks, igneous or sedimentary or metamorphic, whatever it is, which is on the surface of the earth, is constantly undergo weathering and erosion. That is breaking down of rock due to the high heat from the sun, rain from the rain, etc. And it may some chemical changes or physical changes or whatever act on this rock, it slowly break down and into small tiny particles which are easily carried out. Some is deposited in the same area, some is transported to the other place, that is known as erosion. For this erosion, main process is transportation and deposition. These eroded rocks are carried away by wind or water, glacier, river, streams, whatever it is. If it is carried by a wind, at first these small samples are fine, so they, with the help of high force of water, they are carried, and slowly, when the force of the water decreases, it slowly deposited somewhere else. Where the deposition occurs, it slowly deposits over there with the high pressure of the waters, and they became hard. That is known as cementation and compaction, where these, when the forces decrease, these are deposited uh, above or below the water, and the weight and pressure from the both sides, and slowly the gaps between them are filled by the minerals or nutrients from the water, whatever it is, and they slowly undergo the process of compaction and cementation, and slowly changes into a sedimentary rock. Again, the next process, metamorphism, that is mainly on these sedimentary rocks for a long time. Due to these depositional activities, they are buried in the deep ground, where they undergo high heat and pressure, mainly due to the movement of tectonic plates and high heat from the magma chamber, like that way, and it undergo high heat and pressure. Slowly, these sedimentary rocks changes its structure to form a new rock. This is rock melting. These metamorphic rock again undergo high heating because it is already below the ground, and high heat from the mantle. So these again undergo high heating, and slowly this rock again melts to form a magma, and it again helps in the rock cycle. As this lava cools down, it hardens and becomes a igneous rock. As soon as the new rock is formed, they again this weathering and erosion begins, and it starts the cycle again. Thank you.